In our last lesson, we used Adobe Photoshop, which is a pixel or raster based application to apply a crate image to our UVs. This time we're going to use a vector based application like Adobe Illustrator. And once again, I'm going to show you how you can take a texture that doesn't quite fit and tweak it. So the first thing I'm going to do is in the layers panel, I'm going to create a brand new layer right down here. And don't forget, guys, if you don't know Illustrator, and if this style of artwork, which is very crisp and clean, based on vector artwork, is appealing to you, please check out my course on Adobe Illustrator at the VTC website. It's good stuff. So I'm going to go File, and I'm going to choose Place. All right, so that's how you get stuff into Illustrator. Place. I'm going to find the gum box color. This looks familiar from our previous lessons, and I'm going to place it into our document. My cursor changes into this little icon here, so I can go ahead and just draw out where I want to start my import, and I can simply resize it and figure out where I want this to go. I'm going to go ahead and click away from it to deselect it. And just like in Photoshop, I'm going to go to the opacity of this layer, which is up here this time instead of over here in the layers panel, and drop it down quite a bit so I can see the artwork behind it. I'll go ahead and move this down. And as you can see, the front almost lines up properly. The side kind of sneaks over into this area here, and these parts are completely off. So I'm going to just go ahead and try to get as much as I can into this space here. This bottom looks almost good, the top. And I'm going to go back to my layers. Let's go ahead and expand this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually lock the layer that has this UV on it, and I'm going to unlock the logo layer because I want to grab some of these things. For example, the words Arctic Bite. And I'm going to move them over. All right, so let me go ahead and just move them over into position. Click and drag so that they're in the right spot. So what we're trying to do is we're simply going to conform the logo to the template. Sometimes you'll have something that doesn't quite match up, and I have two pieces of artwork that are connected. I'll go to Object, Ungroup, and I can go ahead and grab this guy and put it back where it belongs. And make sure everything is lined up properly, like so. I'll just go ahead and use my eyes now to see if everything's lined up. I can go ahead and make moderate adjustments. I'm looking at the borders here of our UV. And what I could do at this point is I can go ahead and lock that again. And I'm going to go ahead and turn off the import that we brought in. All right. So now we can go ahead and safely save this and bring it back into our Cinema 4D workflow. So I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to choose Save As. And as you see here, I have some options as far as PDFs, SVGs, which are also vector-based, and Adobe Illustrator. Now, I don't want to use any of these when I want to bring my textures into Cinema 4D. So instead of Save As, we should choose the Export option. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this as a different version here. I'm going to say Arctic Bite Packaging _ fitted, just so I know which one's which, the one I actually tweaked. Save it, and I'll go ahead and choose Export. I'm going to export this out as a JPEG, and I'm going to put it in the Arctic Bite folder. By placing everything inside of the Arctic Bite folder, Cinema 4D will have an easier time finding things. So I'm going to go ahead and export this. And I'm going to leave everything at the defaults and say OK. And now we're ready to head back into Cinema 4D and place this onto our object. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to choose my box. I'm going to go to the UV Edit menu this time. And I'm going to make sure I see this UV mesh here. All right, that's what we want. I'm going to go to the File menu, and we're going to open a texture. I'm going to head to my Arctic Bite, and I'm going to put this gum box texture into position. And I'm going to go back to the File menu and show you something different here. You see, when we want to place our actual painted texture onto the object, we're not going to go to File, Open again. Because all we wanted to do was bring back this texture that we created with the words on it. Now we're going to go to File, and we're going to go to Merge Texture. I'm going to find the painted texture that I created in Illustrator, the fitted one. Hit Open. And sometimes when the textures don't match up, you can also have Cinema 4D try to match it up for you. So I'm going to go ahead and say yes. The texture is now on our object, nice and fitted. And I'm going to go to the standard mode, and there it is. So now we have the texture all fitted onto our box. That's pretty cool. So in the next lesson, let's go ahead and tweak our texture a little bit more so we can see it more clearly, because it's a little bright. That's because the specular is too high. And we'll go ahead and paint our mountain. So please save, and I'll see you in the next lesson.